pixelated right now? I don't know if you.
I'm okay. How about you?
All right, I'm good. I think I'm clear. My internet is better than yours. So yeah,
No,
yeah. I think I got a better signal, better bandwidth than you do.
no, not, definitely not that.
Stop being cheap. Upgrade your package.
Nah,
Cheap.
we good over here because got you remember me and my wife work from home full time, so we gotta have the best of the best. Otherwise, we wouldn't be able to work.
Let me tell you something. That means absolutely nothing. It's a whole bunch of
It
people
means
that work from
everything,
home. That means nothing. It's a whole bunch of people that work from home and have
everything.
kids in school, and the internet is still trash.
Yeah,
So
that's NPS.
I'm sorry, you glitched. I didn't hear you. You said what now?
I
I
said
can't.
that's NPS. I didn't glitch
Oh yeah, you glitched.
because I
In
heard
fact,
you
you
breathe,
froze there for a
so
couple
I know
minutes.
I did glitch.
I didn't even know you were still
I don't
talking.
know if your hearing aid glitched.
Oh, ain't no hearing aid on here, Playboy.
I didn't know if your hearing aid glitched. I didn't glitch.
You glitching, brother. You glitching big time. But anyway, thanks everybody for tuning
Are we
in.
gonna get it worked out?
I can't even hear what you're saying. I'm hearing like every other word because you're glitching. So thanks everybody for tuning in tonight with us for our second episode of A Long Way from Sunday. Your midweek boost. We keep it light, we keep it fun, but we also keep it real. We want to discuss a few things as an alternative to be able to help you stay motivated and stay pumped up. I know a lot of times, the beginning of the week, you're full of energy, you're full of drive, but about halfway through, it seems to lose a little steam, and then you got a whole nother long way to go. So we figure, hey man, let's keep it funky in the middle of the week, and be able to just encourage people and uplift them. So I had to do it for the one time with my boy, my cousin, my road dog Tony Cole. We're doing it virtually tonight, but we will be back on the premise, God willing, on next week, and start working on everything, getting it all squared away. But we got a very exciting topic tonight. I do want to just invite those that didn't see the first episode. It was aired a few weeks back. You can view it on our Facebook page as well as YouTube. So you can go on there and check it out. We're gathering our bearings, getting our feet as we go along. We are appreciative of any ideas or, suggestions people have. By all means, please do so in a respectful manner. Send them via inbox or on the comment page. Or you can even, if you got our number, send it to us via phone number. Those are friends and family. I'm sure that'll do that. But we got a whopper tonight, so I'm excited to get into it. I'm not going to prolong it. Tony, you got anything to say before I drop the subject? You probably ain't even hear nothing I said. See, this is that janky internet that I'm talking about. Hello? Hello, Tony? Hi, how are you? Are you still with me? Are you still with me?
Still with you.
Okay, I hear
Still
you.
with you.
I hear you, but I don't see you. And so let's see if we can get Tony back here. Did you check? Oh, there you are. Hey, hi, how are you? You keep cutting in and out. So we'll work through it.
So it's not the internet; it's actually the app.
Hmm,
That's the issue. Sorry,
the app that I'm on as well that's streaming
I
perfectly
don't
fine.
know what subscription you're using, but it doesn't.
Yeah, everything seems to be shifted to me, but my stuff is working
Because you're
fine.
totally frozen on my end,
Yeah, but you're not on
but you're
mine.
frozen on my end. So I guess it's.
Your
Can
end.
you hear me though?
It's your end. I hear you. You sound like a robot, but it's your end.
So this is a great example of what we call perspective. On your end, everything looks fine, but towards me, it looks like I'm the problem. But on my end, it's the opposite. So it's kind of like, do I see an M or do I see a W, or do I see the number three? And I think you preached about that weeks ago. So this is very
Yeah,
interesting.
yeah. I preached about that actually like last year, so it wasn't weeks ago. But
Yeah,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
you know, black people can't count like that.
Yeah, I see. I see. But it's interesting that you bring up that perspective because am I pixelated to you or are you pixelated to you?
No, you're frozen like you about to say, and like I would like to screenshot and send you a photo of how you look right now. It looks like you're a country preacher. And you get ready to say, and Jesus said, or and Jesus went. That's literally what I'm saying.
Okay. Well, let's power through it and see how we get through here, and see what
But as
connects.
long as you can see me, and the live can see me, I'm good. I can provide.
I don't know what the live can see right now because I'm not
I
sophisticated or
think the
sophisticated.
live can because I'm actually looking at my wife's phone. She's on live and I see me. So how's it looking over
Okay.
there
Oh,
on the live? I ain't asking about the pixelation. I'm just saying,
oh
can
no
you
no
see
no no
me?
no no. There's a witness in the house. Wait a minute. Wait a
You
minute.
supposed to be on my side. Don't say pixelate. You supposed
There's
to say,
a witness
yeah,
in
babe, I
the
can
house.
see you. His internet messed up.
Pixelate.
What are you doing?
So it's cool the perspective example that you brought up, but we have a witness that now is able to give some insight into where the problem actually lies, Tony Cole. And the issue is the aforementioned your internet is janky.
Mm,
Somebody type in the comment section, Tony Cole's internet is janky.
mm.
If you would be willing to send a seed to the brother to help him afford better internet, I'm sure he would appreciate that. Seeing as how he's working from home and all, but we're gonna work on that. Prayerfully, everything will go through okay.
Yeah, let me put my
Huh?
cash app up.
Yeah, yeah. Put your cash up, baby. If everybody send $1, it can
You
help the
supposed to be
brother.
over there. I can't even get my jokes off.
Everybody send $1. You look hilarious right now. It's like a cartoon that you're working on right now. If everybody sends $1 to your cash, that will help you get better internet. We praise the Lord for you. Anyway, let's try to jump in and see what we get. Tonight's subject is a fun one, I believe. We're coming from the concept: I tried and I failed. Should I try again? And so you and I talked briefly a little bit about it in getting it. And I think that with that, a lot of times we have to figure out in life because there are some things that no matter how much we try, it just does not seem to work. All right. And then there are other things it seems like with minimal effort, it seems like it becomes a great success. And so we're towing this line of what do we know of when to keep trying versus when to hang it up. Kenny Rogers wrote a song a long time ago that said you got to know when to hold them, you got to know when to fold them, you got to know when to walk away. So what do you
Right,
think in
right.
regards to? You said what?
No, I was saying right, right.
Right. So we absolutely got to work towards being in the same spot because this is trash. But in regards to that, like, how do you feel about it? Like for me, I feel like a lot of times what ends up happening with why we can become disappointed or frustrated with trying is because we are trying something that really wasn't intended for us, but we want it to be for us, right?
Hmm.
Sometimes it's a relationship, right? You getting involved in a relationship because there were some attractions to this person in the beginning, but you didn't really know that person. But you feel that you're going to
Right.
power through it because you made the commitment in your mind that this is what you want. Not understanding that maybe what you wanted at that moment wasn't what was going to be good for you in the long run. So maybe the issue that we have, and you back me up on this, is that we jump in sometimes with the short sight, and we jump in with what we want immediately, but we never really stop to think about, okay, how is this going to line up with my future, right?
All right.
Can you hear me?
Well, absolutely. I think sometimes I hear you fine.
Okay, so I can't hear you, but continue.
I stopped talking. See,
Huh?
I know how to work in the world of delay. So I was gonna keep going. See, I know when you cut off, I jump right in and we keep going, and the people wouldn't even know that there was no delay because I'm good at that. You know,
Okay, you were making a point though, right? I'm sorry.
you ready for me?
I've been ready. Go
Yeah,
ahead.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
No, no, Sen, I think a lot of times we often may jump into things without thinking about our future because realistically, how often do we think about our future when we're making a quick decision? We might think of it now more that we're older and we understand that since we've gone through so much in our lifetime and had so many disappointments and lost that now you have to think about your future. But I could think about myself 10 or 15 years ago. I wasn't thinking about the future. I was thinking about that moment.
Mm.
One thing that I heard that kind of sticks with me is a lot of times we can't see past the hand that's in front of our face. So we're not even like thinking of anything outside of what we see at that moment. So um, I know now I strive to make sure that I think about most decisions I make, how they will affect me long term. But I can absolutely say without a shadow of a doubt, 10 to 15 years ago, that wasn't my thought. It was about what I was trying to obtain at the moment. And That's all it was about, trying to get it and not thinking about was it really for me. And
Okay, yeah, and I feel you, and I think that overall, are you still talking? I can't tell. You done? Okay,
no, I'm done.
okay, cool. So, I would agree. I think that a lot of times, with age comes experience, and it becomes wisdom. But how do we help people that, are young or maybe not even necessarily age young, but just have an era of naivete, where they haven't experienced a whole lot. So you mentioned that as you got older, experience began to kind of teach you some things. A lot of times some people break
Right,
from the experience. And so I feel like, we who have been through it and gone through it, obviously, first and foremost, we tie everything back to the word, and what the Bible says about the matter, because it is, our blueprint is what we use as the framework for whatever, we live, whatever we practice, what we profess. And in doing that, I think that a lot of times it becomes our will versus God will kind of thing. If we can be honest, a lot of times it feels really good to be in control. It feels really good to be able to say, this is what I want,
right,
this is how I want it, this is when I want it, and if I can do it, then I'm going to do it. Not always considering that maybe the way our approach is not always the best, and we end up sacrificing a lot of time, a lot of energy, a lot of effort, a lot of heartbreak, a lot of headache, all the different things we end up suffering through because we didn't initiate a conversation with God first. And so the wonderful thing that I love about the Bible,
right,
that there's a lot of preventative maintenance that we can avoid certain instances or situations if we would take the time to take it to the book. So I was reading in the Word of God, and it just refreshed in my mind the story in John 21 and 1 through 4. And in reading it, people can take their time to read in the interpretation or the translation that they'd like to. But the summary goes that the disciples had been fishing all night. Some of them were even fishermen by trade. So it's not like they had novices on board. They knew how to fish, right? They knew how to
right,
apply what they knew to get a result. But on this particular night, for some reason, they weren't catching anything. It's like nothing was biting. They could not catch a fish to save their life. They ended up, doing it all night, as far as trying to catch fish. And by morning time, they saw Jesus on the shore. Ultimately, Jesus, probably was hungry. He was like, how did the catch go last night? Knowing that he knew what was going on, but it was a teachable moment. So he asked him, where the fish
right,
for breakfast? I'm ready to eat.
right.
And they were like, well, we didn't catch anything. And so Jesus gave them the instruction to cast the net over the right side of the boat. And in doing that, it goes on to say that they pulled in more fish than the net could even hold. And so it feels like to me, a lot of times we misstep because we can be so caught up in maybe the approach or what we think we know that we don't avail ourselves to the opportunity that God puts in front of us.
Right. And it's funny that you were saying that because one thing I just thought about as you was speaking that parable, and obviously I've heard it throughout my lifetime, but it's good when you hear something and you get something new.
Yeah.
You said that he told them to cast their net to the right side of the boat. Who would have thought that just such a simple thing as a change of direction, the solution that they
Mm.
needed for their issue? All night long, they're wondering why I can't get this done. I'm not getting anything, and it's like it's so funny that nobody thought, hmm, let's
Right.
try
I'm
it
gonna
on
get the
this
preacher
side of the
head
boat.
shake.
Maybe they what's going on.
Come on.
It's just amazing because it's like
Yes. You had a word in your belly, but the
hello,
information, yeah, yeah, you had a word in your belly, but that word was cut off by the limitations of whatever it is that's going on in your house right now. So can you repeat what you just said? Because it sounds like it was good, but things were happening on that end that only a part of it was revealed. The revelation was not complete. They didn't get to come through in its entirety. So can you repeat what it is that you were just saying, Tony Cole, if you're present? Praise the Lord. We're going to ask the intercessors to pray for his connection. We're going to ask the intercessors to touch and agree wherever they are so that he would be able to stream without hiccup, without hindrance, without issue. Is there a prayer warrior in the house that can pray for Tony Cole's internet connection? Look at the power.
So you know what it is?
You are
We
back.
keep things real here at Alone on Sunday. You understand what I'm saying? And we ordered some food before we started this broadcast. And you know, these people called me like I'm in the lobby. I'm like, really, bro? Are you calling me, man? I mean, of course they wouldn't know what we're doing, but I had to take that call because we got to eat. See, like you said, we keep it real on this show. You dig
100%.
me? So that was the man in the lobby, like, uh, I'm in the lobby. I said, did you hit the apartment number? Well, the apartment number has a different name than what's on the box.
Hey,
I said, they just haven't changed the name, but it's us. Oh, okay.
he was being thorough.
I didn't get it. You know, I mean, I get it, but I don't get it. Huh? Yeah, he's being thorough. He's being super thorough. And that's probably because I already gave him his tip. So he want to make sure that he do what he needs to do to earn it.
Listen,
So I can't trip about that. If the man see
exactly.
another name, he want to make sure he getting the food to the right person.
Because I'm
But
going to
like
keep
I
it.
was saying, it's the
Yeah.
simplest thing.
Uh-huh.
If they would have put the net on the other side, that they would have gotten the feel. So it's like that's the thing that's amazing with God is that sometimes we go through all this stuff. We go through all this drama, stressing ourselves out.
So,
And you're gonna have to go ahead and update to the iPhone, brother.
yeah, it's not an
The
iPhone issue. We
Android be
back.
making y'all.
We back on. I want people to jump back in. Hopefully, people jump back in with us. Um, and come back on. Join back in. Come back in. Ye who were part of it, and keep sharing. So apparently with Switcher, you have to have enough storage. So you can't. You know how we've been recording like all of our services and been broadcasting them.
Yeah,
Apparently, it keeps a copy of those, and if it keeps a copy of those, it limits the amount of streaming that you can do, which is weird.
really.
Yeah, because it would seem like based on the information, it's supposed to go to whatever output you have, but apparently it still has its own version of it that it keeps, maybe just in case something goes wrong with your stream, which I get it. It makes sense. But it's like terribly inconvenient when you like broadcasting and you don't even get like an alert that your storage is low. Or maybe I missed it. Maybe I looked over it. I don't care. It doesn't matter. Anyway, yeah, that was a good point that you made, in regards to that scenario, and even with the pizza guy, it's always something to be said. I can relate because it's like, I'll try to be thorough with what I do, when I'm doing delivery and, just throwing it out there. A lot of times, if the address and name don't match, you probably have the wrong house. So, you got to like really be thorough and check stuff out, especially if you done got somebody that done tipped already, in regards to that. But, that is what it is. But I'm glad that you got some food. Keeping it real. If you want to take a bite or two, because I'll tell you what, my food get here before this is over. I'm going to eat while talking to the
You
people.
to order some food too.
Hey, man, it's just one of them
You
kind of
know
things.
what? I'm not gonna. The people already done see me drinking out of a red cup, and they're probably wondering what's in it. I'm not gonna eat while we doing this. I already been sipping out that red cup. Red cup is. See, I froze up again, so I can see if you can see my air quotes. But synonymous with that thing, that yak or something, that EJ, the Erkin jerk,
Yeah,
that Mad Dog 2020.
yeah.
There was nothing in there but Tap Washer 2020.
Okay, you say so. You seem to
So
have a long list of what goes in that
no,
red cup.
it wasn't under water.
You got a long list of what goes in the red cups. I'm just saying.
Well,
So,
it's a long way from Sunday.
yeah, come on here, bring it all together, brother. See, man, that's you, man. That mind. That's what I'm saying. Good stuff. I don't know if you're clapping or not because your hands froze midway. So hey, it is what it is. But I think a lot
Yeah,
of
I saw that.
you like, but a lot of it, man, comes down to just I think for me, man, as much as we can, there's a lot of preventive maintenance that we can fulfill. You hit on the head like very. I thought you was done with the red cup, dripping out of the sippy cup now. If you think about the fact that, like you said, it can be that one,
No,
two.
I'm drinking soda now.
Oh, I was like, upgraded from a red cup and went down to a sippy cup. That's a big boy. Good job. Good job. So you have,
That's a
just
32 ounce from State Fair. It's like a
hey,
$20 cup.
hey man, it ain't about your cup now. Okay, we over that. All right, so in regards to the one tweak, that you make, that's dope because a lot of times we think that it's this big, long, significant, drawn out process when God really just has one simple thing, but sometimes that one simple thing is the thing that you want to let go of the least. And so it's like you spend so
Right.
much time. It's like this. A lot of times you can spend so much time. I think we're built as humans with such an ego, and we don't like to throw that word around or use it. But the reality is, we can sometimes have so much of an ego that we just simply won't admit that some things are not worth our time, effort, or energy. But because we've started putting so much of it in, I think we start to fear that I've put too much into this and too much time has passed, so I don't want to start over.
Mm.
And
So let me ask you a question with that.
yeah,
All right, do you think most people are that type of person that like I done put a lot of energy into this, it's not working out, but like you said, my ego is not gonna allow me to start this over or stop it. You think people really just will self sabotage themselves to do that because of ego? If they know that it's not working the way that they're doing it.
well, I do, and here's why. I think that we are. I think of a person that's an addict, right? And we can be addicted to the try fail system. So an addict, they're trying to chase that same initial high that they had. They may never get it, but just the hope that maybe that one time that they recapture it will recapture that feeling is enough for them a lot of times to spend their life trying to chase it. And if we're not careful, we can do that sometimes. Like we can be so caught up in the hope of this one thing that we put so much effort in working because maybe it worked at some point. Or maybe, because we've seen others do it, we assume that it's for us too. We can spend so much time that realistically we don't even consider the fact that we done tried 1,000 times. It's that hope that that one time it'll work, not understanding that sometimes it's maybe a mistiming. Maybe you're doing the right thing at the wrong time. Maybe it's that you're doing, the wrong thing at the right time and got lucky before. If we don't assess that our ego can keep us blinded to the punishment that we're taking from taking so long to get to where it is we're trying to get to. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Are you
Yeah,
hearing? And so
that's
I
very
do.
interesting though, because you would think that a person. No, I was saying that's very interesting. 'Cause you would think that a person who knows that they're going down the wrong path would veer off at some point because it's like, okay, why am I continuously doing this? I know this is not going to work. I can't make it work. But that's very interesting to have that kind of mindset that you just really believe that if you keep driving these extra 500 miles outside of the way, you're going to eventually get to where you're going.
Hmm. Yeah.
So that's interesting to me.
Yeah, and that's what I was, making it again simile to, like I said, the mentality or the mindset of an addict. While you're in it, you really don't have a regard for how much damage you're actually taking on. Because your mind is focused on just this one feeling or this one objective that you're trying to reach. So if you're trying to get to that specific objective, everything else kind of is gleeful abandon. It's like it's out of sight, out of mind. I'm gonna deal with it until I got to deal with it. And so, you really don't even stop to consider the fact that you look up and it's years later and you still are no better off than you've been. It takes a moment where you can be like, okay, let me re strategize. And in this instance, again, why it's important is that ultimately they could have been doing the same thing over and over again, even after Jesus said it. Because let's keep it 100. A lot of times we can hear God telling us something, but if we don't like it, we still keep fishing on the other side of the boat. So ultimately
That's
it's one
so
of those
true.
things where you got to be willing to change the strategy in anticipation that what I give up or what I yield to God's ability or his authority, what I yield to that will benefit me far greater than if I keep on doing it my way and just chalking it up to a bad day. And so, that's the way I kind of feel a lot of times. That's where the rubber meets the road and we get caught up. It's like, okay, because I have this hope that this thing is going to work, I'm willing to put all the effort, time, and energy into it, not considering that, well, maybe this is not for me to begin with. And it's at that time that I think we have to re strategize and see what God says about it. But that's a hard pill to swallow or hard to track for some people.
Right.
I feel
And it's
like
so interesting that, us in the religion,
okay,
and I was going to say, it's so interesting that us in religion, growing up in this, you would think that we would know automatically, let's just consult God before we make a decision about anything.
right,
Because ultimately we know that whatever he tells us is going to be right, but we yet still don't do that. Like you said, a lot of times it's after all the trial and error, after
mm,
all the bumping your head, after all the energy you started doing it the wrong way, then you finally say, okay, God, what am I doing wrong? Or God, can you help me out of this?
mm,
That let's not go to him first. You know what
right,
I'm saying? That's
yeah,
just interesting to me. And I'm speaking from Christian standpoint, a believer's standpoint. We still don't do that first.
right,
We still sometimes just go head first into what we think is the way,
mm-hmm,
try to make it the way, try to create it to be the way, instead of just saying, God, what is the way? And then on top of that, whatever you tell me, is it a way I'm willing to follow? Because I may not like it.
for real. And that I think is one of the bigger parts of it. What I like versus what's needed. Because I mean, if we had it our way, and we just talked about this past Sunday, if we had it, we would do minimal and get most back. If we had it our way, we would, sow sparingly and reap bountifully. If we had it our way, and I think that we don't sometimes consider when we say that God knows my heart, that God knows my heart. We don't actually consider that he knows a lot of the things that how we would behave if the things went the way we would. I can absolutely assure that most of us would get very cocky and arrogant and feel like we absolutely have an in track over other people with God. And let's be real, a lot of people do that, which is why a lot of people dismiss the church crowd and don't want to be seen at any kind of congregation in church because it's this mentality of almost being spiritually bougie, and being elitist to the point
Hmm.
where part of this cool club that you're not a part of because your life is a mess, but we're saying
Hey,
that come to this
hey, wait
God.
a minute. You say, did you say spiritually bougie?
Yes, sir.
So they don't serve Jesus, they serve Jesus.
Well,
It didn't really go over. See, we had to be live for that joke to really go over.
yeah, yeah, I think so because you froze like there's seriously bougie. So I was like, I don't really know what happened on the second half of it. All I heard was Zeus after that. Oh, it's like it's struggling.
Jesus. I don't
Oh,
serve Jesus, I serve Jesus.
oh, gotcha. Okay, now that you said it, I get it. Yeah, but it didn't pick up the first time at all. At the fault, but that's facts though.
No.
And I think that's what ends up happening. A lot of times in some ways, this club that people feel alienated from and they don't want no parts of. When the reality is we are trying to bring you to the place of being able to open up even with your messes, your dirt, whatever you have, bringing it to somebody that can actually clean it up. And it's one of those things that I'm experiencing, that I'm seeing as a pastor, that we have to be careful because people will begin to hang everything in their life on just the pastor. Now we are a tool, and of course, I shun no responsibility, but I would be irresponsible if I didn't teach and equip people to be able to go after God in a very real way, even when I'm saying nothing. Because the reality is the tests and the trials begin at
Right.
home. A lot of times stuff ain't hitting you the same way during the
Right.
church service as it is when you leave, when you're at home.
Right. It's really good that you said that because I think growing up, we've always put the pastor on a pedestal.
Yeah,
And sometimes the pastor has put himself on the pedestal,
yeah,
you know,
facts.
and you can see the difference between a pastor who has elevated himself versus a pastor who's been elevated by the people, and then a pastor who's been elevated by God. So
Hmm.
it's still a difference.
Right.
But growing up, we've always felt like we held the pastor to such a high standard
Yeah.
that anytime that there's an issue, anytime that there's a shortcoming, we automatically get shocked and begin to judge, and we forget that this person is still a human. This
Hmm.
person is still going through the same stuff we're going through. They're
Right.
just being chosen by God to lead, but that
Right.
doesn't separate them from dealing with what we have to deal with as people. And
Right.
I think for outsiders, and I don't want to say it like that, but I should say for people who don't uh, regularly go to church, they look at that and they look at it as a negative thing and like, oh, see, I knew, or because that burns me. Even to this day, at 38 years old, it still burns me when people
Yeah.
speak ill of pastors and
Mm-hmm.
lump them together and say they all about this or they all about that. That really bothers me because it's like I know pastors who are not like that. I know pastors who are not self-serving. You know what I'm saying? Everything that you say that they are, I know people who are not like that, and not just one. Like I can run out of fingers listing people who I know are not like that, but yet still, from your perspective, because you've heard, because a lot
Mm-hmm.
of times you haven't seen it for yourself, you
Right.
haven't experienced it because you ain't been to church since you was a little kid saying speeches at Easter.
Because you was christened.
So you
That was the
in
last
your
time you was
adult
there.
life, right? So it's like you don't even have a leg to stand on because you have not even physically been anywhere to observe this, but you believe this because it's negative, and that's what you've grown up hearing. It just
Right.
irritates me. And I don't know if you can see or feel or sense the irritation I get. I think like that because I'm like,
Yeah.
man, I don't put no man, no woman of God above no man, no woman of God, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm. I get you. Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, no matter what your title is, you still a man or you still a woman of God, just like I'm a man of God or a woman of God for the women. So therefore, I'm not going to be shocked by anything that you may struggle with. And
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to look at that and damn you and say, oh, you're fake or you're this, that, and the other. Because you're not, just because you're human.
Mm-hmm.
Now, there's
Right.
some people that do the wrong thing and
Yeah.
they should be held accountable. But even still, my heart won't even, just kill them like that because obviously we know that there's an issue,
Right.
you know? So I'm glad that you said it like that, man, that God has called you, but God is also giving you the ability to equip us. Like we should not be blowing up your phone in the middle of the night first when we having an issue. The first phone call should be the one who made and created us, because after that phone call, we may not need to make no more.
Wow.
But once again, our mindset, we don't think about God first.
Yeah.
So
That's true. I feel like we in church and I gotta lift my finger up, like to excuse myself or say hey, so I know whose turn it is. Like sometimes I don't know if you make it like a good point, and I don't want to step on your moment, or vice versa. And so and if anybody looking, because I just noticed in the camera my hands are real dirty. That's because I've been out on the smoker. Me and my brother, we getting stuff prepared and ready to hook up that deliciousness this weekend. And so you see the labors of my love. My hands look like I've been dealing soot. So I'm sorry. People see the charcoal grit on my hand. We're just getting everything prepped and ready. Uh,
hey, that just let us know you know how to cook. Listen, anything that you do that's your profession, you should have a little bit on you. Like if you brother Danny, you fixing mufflers and cars, have a little bit of oil on you, and don't wash your hands when you eat. That's seasoning for the meat.
Dude, it's stupid. Dude, you was a nut. But that's true though. But yeah,
Yeah,
that's the way they did it coming up. Like they would have oil, antifreeze, chicken, hot dog.
hey, that was made for a good meal because
Yeah.
you wasn't finna wash your hands when you trying to eat on the go. You fixing mufflers, man. You taking a bite. It is what it is.
Hey, low key, that might have helped their immune system too, because they barely get sick. You don't really see no mechanics get sick. So I don't know if that
That is
oil
true.
and antifreeze. I ain't recommending nobody try that at all. But I'm just saying, there was some type
Right,
of pepper and grease that was watching over people. But that's
right,
true. And I think that
right.
tying it in, man, that's absolutely a moment that we have to be able to realize, man, that we all gonna have struggles. We all have instances that are going to be things that pull us more so in one direction versus the other. We're gonna have moments that are going to be more challenging, some that are going to be easy. We're gonna have the up and down game as long as we live it. But our duty first and foremost is to live what we talk about. Before I say anything, before I can have a conversation with somebody, people ought to have seen me living that first. And if people see me living that, it then compels them to want to ask questions and be able to maybe be a part of it because they've seen me live it. It's not a matter of them just hearing me say it, because words wear thin, man. Like people, like promises are a dime a dozen when people talk. Like people say a whole lot of stuff, but when it's actually action, it's a whole different ball game. And I mean, that's the thing that to me is a game changer.
Right.
And really, for all of us, we got to assess, even when it comes down to what our subject is. When you've tried and you failed, are you really doing something different? The next time, or is it just based on other people telling you that this is for you? Because that opens up a whole nother category. That opens up a whole nother thing. Did you ever, like, some people, they're dealing with the weight of something that was put on them that they really would have never picked up on
Mm.
their own. They didn't even have a desire to do this or do that, but because everybody else framed their world with their words, everybody else said you're supposed to be this, or you need to do this, or you should do this. How many people are bearing that weight and really need to be set free from public opinion and public ideas? Maybe for some of us, it really just comes down to an internal recentering and refocusing, and a start conversation of saying that, man, I've been doing all of this and I've never even wanted to do this. This hasn't even been something that has been a passion or even feeling like a purpose of mine. And we die a little inside each time we keep giving energy to all these other people and things and ideas that really have nothing to do with the purpose God created us for.
Just to jump in real quick on that, I think a lot of times we confuse what we're good at as being what we should be doing. And that's something that we really got to figure out, because just because you're good at something
Mm-hmm.
doesn't mean that that's the lane you should go. I'll tell you a story on my job. I process release information for medical records.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a ROI, which is the release of information specialist. So I got the call that they wanted to cross train me into customer service. Now,
Mm-hmm.
I've been doing customer service for over 20 something years.
Yeah.
So I'm great at customer service. But
Mm-hmm.
you get to a point you get tired of customer service, especially on call customer service, on being on the
Yeah.
phone, I should say. So I wasn't happy at all. And they said, well, because what happened is one day we needed to make some calls to help another department. And, I didn't want to do it. But of course, I was asked to do it. So I did it. And I did it too well because I
Mm-hmm.
spoke properly. What I'm saying? All
Yeah.
these things that I've been taught over the years
Right.
made them see me as, oh. So what they said was, let's move him for XYZ amount of time into customer service
Mm-hmm.
because he's good at it. And I had to stand up for myself because I didn't want to do what I was good at because I had been doing it for so long. I
Yeah.
got tired of doing what I was good at and not being happy. So I had to say, listen, I didn't take this position to do this.
Mm-hmm.
Unless you're telling me if I don't do it, I don't have a job. My
Right.
purpose is to stay doing what I'm doing.
Mm-hmm.
And, spoke to a few different people and they tried to finesse me like, but you're so good at it. Listen, I've been doing this too long. I don't care how good at it I am. I don't do it. So my point is that a lot of times we get caught into doing something that we really aren't supposed to be doing just
Right.
because we're good at doing it. And that can really
Yeah.
mess us up.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And so, piggybacking on that, um, I feel like we sometimes we're uncom- we're uncomfortably comfortable instead of being comfortably uncomfortable, right? And so we are,
Mm.
I mean, we get to the point where we're comfortable beyond where we should be, and it becomes this debilitating, just handicapping weight that pulls so much from you that you literally don't even try to get the weight off. You like literally just stay there and concede defeat, right? And like you said, you stood up and said, "Yo, I got to do something," But a lot of times, you get so uncomfortably comfortable that it's just your ebb and flow. It's the norm that what you go with. Instead of flipping that thing, you got to flip it. You got to flip that thing, and be comfortably uncomfortable. So you got to reverse it.
Right.
It's a Kirk show, but those that sing Boomerang know where I was going with that. But you got to be you got to be comfortably uncomfortable. Like, it's cool when you find a challenge that you can get over, or something that you never done before. You learn so much from it. And the thing that we sometimes don't give the opportunity is to learn from the mistake. Because it's like, okay, soon as something starts feeling uncomfortable or pressure starts, or we start feeling those moments where we're being pulled more than what we normally feel we should be pulled, we give up because we've been comfortable for so long. And that's my challenge, man, for even myself. I've been on, as I've said before, and I'll say it again. I've been on this journey, with weight loss, because during quarantine, man, I loafed. Ended up just basically chillaxing and relaxing, all cool. And everything at the end of the day just started, piling up. And ultimately, I noticed a change in my health, but I'm committed to the journey of being uncomfortable. And I know that for me to be consistent, it takes me doing something that I don't like doing. It takes me actually sometimes getting up earlier than I normally would to make sure that my day doesn't get away from me. Because as a pastor, as a husband, as a father, as an entrepreneur, and even, part time, delivery driving and stuff, it pulls a lot from you. And now also venturing out into content creation and other things like that, it becomes a very full day that will exhaust you. But I can be comfortably uncomfortable in the fact that the results that I begin to see just by me availing myself to being uncomfortable work out for me so much more than all of the time that I've been comfortable and resulting in nothing. You got to at some point take inventory and say, what has my comfortability cost me? And when you take that inventory, sometimes, man, we don't want to look back at the list of the things that have cost. So my encouragement to anybody is to take a real inventory and really assess, man. Sometimes you got to weigh relationships, if they're assets or liabilities. You've got to weigh your job and find out long term what's in it for you, and if it's something you're building. But most importantly, what have you been put here on this earth to do? And if what you're doing is crushing your purpose, you've got to be able to be bold enough to approach the Father and say, God,
Mm.
reveal it to me, and be consistent enough to do it until you get an answer. Be willing to push past the couple minutes that you're used to getting an answer and being part of the microwave generation.
I like where you're going with that because, like you said, we get so comfortable in being uncomfortable that we don't like to push past the wall.
Mm-hmm.
We got to stop looking at wall and ending. Look at it. You don't know what the wall is made of until you push it. The wall
Wow.
may be made of sand, which means you can go right through that thing. You had a
That's
little
good.
resistance, but you know what? Oh, I went to another level. I'm seeing more things. I'm wide open. Or it
Yeah.
could be made out of brick, which means that no, you don't need to proceed. You need to sit there, ask God, should I retreat or should I? You know what I'm saying? So it's
Exactly.
like we got to stop being afraid of walls. We got to stop being afraid of being uncomfortable. We got to stop being afraid to get a little bit of pain. We
Yeah.
understand that it's a part of our growth. We got to
Yeah.
deal with it a little bit because we need to
Absolutely.
see one what we're made of. Because
Yeah.
God don't want no. I almost got ghetto for a minute. God don't want no punks in His kingdom. You know what I'm
Mm-hmm.
saying? He don't
Yeah.
want no people that's just gonna be punkified. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? But at the same time, we got to use wisdom. We don't just run towards the wall now
Right.
and assume. You know what I'm saying? But test that thing out a little bit. Press
Yeah.
on that wall. See how strong it is. And then as you see that, oh, this was made of sand. I'm good. I can go through this.
Yeah.
So that when you were speaking, and I just thought of that analogy, like we don't know what the wall is made of until we push it.
Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely. And I feel that, man. And I think that we sometimes forget, man, that even faith needs to be conditioned and worked out. You know, we sometimes, man, we want the convenience. And we talked about this again on Sunday too, man. We jump to the producing stage. We want our faith to produce, right away. We want our faith to produce all of these results and get all of this stuff out of it, but we don't take the time to plant it in something real, and we don't protect it from the outside influences that can, a lot of times when you mention walls, that's what I thought about. Because a lot of times walls are built sometimes not to keep you from getting out, but to keep dangers and things from getting in. And so when those walls are up, there's a
Mm.
lot that's said when it comes down to having walls up. But I think part of our issue that we deal with as people, and why God is so amazing, is because as complex as we are, there's always something in His will and in His word that applies or speaks to whatever situation or walk we find ourselves in. And that's important because we gonna we gonna sometimes be like the wind blow. We're gonna have moments where we literally within the same day are gonna be happy, we're gonna be mad, we're gonna be sad, we're gonna be laughing, we're gonna be crying. You literally, man, 2020 has probably put more emotions than any other time I can ever think of out of people. It done reduced the
Right.
hardest person to tears. It done brought things that people really thought they knew for sure as far as a plan and as far as ideas, and completely peed on them. And basically, at this point, man, if there's ever a time to re-strategize and restructure the game plan, it's now. But I like what you said. We can't just run towards the wall with gleeful abandon without knowing, first of all, what the wall is for. Is it to keep us from getting to a point of danger? Is it to keep danger out? Or is it just simply a barricade to say go the other way? We've got to understand what that wall is put there for. And then also, again, like you said, what it's made for. Because realistically, the resistance that you have in front of you sometimes is meant to just build your strength up, and that is the key very often to be able to stand on something that's integrity based, that's real, and that actually is for your long term goodness. I'm a firm believer, man, that ultimately, everything that even doesn't go the way we plan it still teaches us a lesson, but the lesson will only be taught if we're willing to learn it. The lesson can be taught, but you got to also be willing to learn it.
Yo, it's so good that you mentioned 2020 and initially how we are in the beginning of the year, especially as Christians. We like to bring in the new year with a shout, with a praise. This is the
Mm-hmm.
best year of my life. This is what our things to come. We had our memes, 2020, the year of vision, because we were, 2020 eyesight can see clearly now that the day is gone.
Mm-hmm.
And then all those things went downhill in March. But the cool thing about all that is we still can obtain everything that we talked about in January in
Mm-hmm.
spite of, because this is really a true test of what you made of. How
Facts.
you coming out of this COVID situation?
Yes, sir.
Because I know personally now it caused us to either sink or swim. It caused us to either conform to what's going on and figure something else out, or say, okay, in spite of what's going on, I'm going to figure something else out, if that makes sense.
Oh yeah.
You became a
Absolutely.
content creator, which is probably something that you wasn't even thinking about doing. But because of what's going on, it opened up an avenue for you. I'm working on a business that once I present it, people gonna be like, "What?" But it got birthed in me sitting around. I
Mm-hmm.
finally picked up something that was recommended with the DJ stuff because I wasn't doing nothing else. So I'm like, okay, I have time now. Why don't I look into this vein? I love doing this anyway. So why
Right.
don't I learn how to actually do it for real?
Mm-hmm.
So this year, in spite of all the bad stuff, if you about that business, if you really a G,
Straight
especially
up.
being from Milwaukee,
Mm-hmm.
you gonna figure out a way to come out of this thing. You know what I'm saying,
Oh yeah.
and figure something out.
Right.
You can absolutely not go back to being how you was before
Mm-hmm.
COVID.
Yeah.
You gotta be something different. You gotta be, because if you ain't came out of this thing better or different at least,
Mm-hmm.
then I don't know what to say about you. That's just facts.
No printer. Straight up. And I love what you said when, like you said, that the energy in the beginning. This is the time where you really need to keep that energy. Because at the end of the day, it's easy to talk raw and say something. And I'm telling you, I found so much insight from the Last Dance. And Michael Jordan said something in there. He was like, we'll see what they do. He was talking about, the I forgot what team it was exactly, but they were in the finals again. And he was like, it's easy to talk junk when you're ahead, but let's see what junk you talk when the score is even, or you
Mhm.
behind, or you losing. That's when the game
Right.
really starts. And that's, man, to me what we're dealing with in 2020. That the energy didn't go anywhere, as far as to what the plans were and that you had. You just shifted and sometimes could take your eye off the ball because of everything that's in front of you. The giants that's in front of you can make it seem like everything that you wanted to do and you plan to do is impossible. But I can testify to a fact, man, that I've seen more people launching out. Man, they literally sell everything on the corner now. Like, they sell like an individual sock. They don't even sell pairs of socks no more. They sell like one sock at a time. Like, you they're selling everything on the corners now. So it's like, man,
Yeah.
the thought process behind it now, man, there are more entrepreneurs than ever before. And my hope is that we'll realize that
Oh yeah.
there's enough opportunity for everybody. Even in what we do, with the food sales, and we don't have to be defeated just because there are other people that do it, because what you're designed to do and purpose to do, you've got to believe strong enough that it's for you to fulfill. And that's ultimately when we know that even if you failed at something, you can still try again. But it also lets you know that everything ain't necessarily for you to put your effort and energy to. You've got to be willing to start over when starting over is necessary. And you've got to trust that the starting over process will build a stronger foundation. It'll be something that stands the test of time, and it'll be something that nobody else can tear down and people can't destroy. And so ultimately, that's where we really have to lean on God's wisdom and understanding. And I appreciate the fact that we were saying in the beginning, the disciples was like, "Yo, I'm tired. I've been doing this all night. We didn't get no results, and nothing is going down." But in one version, I believe in Matthew, it says, nevertheless, and I love the word nevertheless. It's one of my favorite words in the Bible, because ultimately it says that even though I feel some kind of way, in spite of how I feel, I'm still willing to do. And so nevertheless is a really powerful word to me when I think about that concept, because it's like, yeah, we tired, man, and we done did a lot of stuff, and we've all been at that stage of burnout where it's like, yo, I don't have anything left to give. I've given everything I can possibly imagine. But if God still says that it's for me, or there's a reward for me doing the right thing at the right time and doing it where he said for it to happen, then I got to be honest with my faith and really check it and see where it's at. And if it's where I said it's at, I'm going to do what he said to do. And the end result is they put their faith where their faith was. you know, it's like we have faith that occupies, but it ain't filled with no actual action. So they put their faith where their faith was, and the end result was they ended up coming away with more than they would have had they been out there just still on their own. And so, man, the encouragement is that there's still a few months left for this year. Is that people will go after it with everything that they have. Don't concede just because something is different or it's uncomfortable or it's uncertain. Because uncertainty is because you don't trust the outcome. And because you're fearful of the outcome, you're uncertain. But if you know that, like the Bible says, that all things work together for our good, you can push a little harder, still knowing that even if it doesn't make sense to me at the moment, it ultimately still will work
Mhm.
out for my good.
Right. Good stuff. Good.
Yeah, man. So man, it's always a blast, man. We can go all night, man. Like as far as the conversations, man, because it comes so naturally, and ultimately, I want to keep it to the point where we keep people's interest. People can send us content information and comments. Subject matter that they'd like to talk about or discuss. You can put it in the comment section. You can send us information via email or inbox. As we build this platform and as we start going on, we definitely going to have some fun, but at the end of the day, we also gonna be real and keep you encouraged, man. If it's a few nuggets, or even if it's just giving you a laugh where you didn't really know you could have one, you know, breaking the stereotype that church is stuffy, that is bougie. One thing I've
Right.
always loved about IDC, man, we don't do everything right at all, but what we do is love, and ultimately love looks different to different people. But one thing that I've always pushed for, and every predecessor has established, is that there's something for everybody, but there needs to be willing workers. Put into the fold. So man, it's all love, man, and I appreciate everybody that's tuning in, man. You can spread the word. Those that tuned in with us, share it so we can build this platform. Give us ideas and things like that, man. We're gonna constantly get improvements and stuff going on. Again, Tony Cole can put up his Cash App either here or in the comments, so that you can help him with his internet and sponsor a child for as little as $1 a day, and $1 a day will go towards better internet for him. And so we are hoping that
Right,
next
right.
time the connection will be
Make
strong.
sure you say this. Make sure you say this so we can look back on this and see where we came from.
For sure. Absolutely. Apparently, I don't have a choice but to, because Switcher stores it whether I want it to or not. So even if I didn't do nothing, Switcher was going to
Oh.
keep a copy of it anyway. So yeah, I guess there's that. But definitely want to make sure we keep it. And man, just keep it. Everybody that's tuned in, stay with us. We definitely want to keep the ball rolling. I got some people in mind that'll be coming in and when they come in, man. They're gonna have a blast, and honestly, gonna have some different stuff, maybe some live performances, man. We conceptualizing now as we go along, and as we do so, we want you to grow with us, build with us, and most of all, be encouraged that even though you're beginning and your end may not be established, and you may feel like you're a long way from Sunday, God knows your end and beginning, and it's all working for your good. All right, I'm signing off. I don't know if you was gonna say something right there. I felt like that was an outro, but it was left hanging. So God bless you and God keep you. Uh, Peace.
Hey, and it's your boy Tony Cole. We're gonna have some fun with this, and we're gonna see y'all next week.
Facts. Weekly.